learned show business, you're going to do this every day and you're going to do this for 8 or 12 hours every day. How do you do that? And how do you approach it professionally? How do you do a good job every time you walk out in front of a crowd? How do you? So it was a great training ground. I met a lot of fantastic people during the 70s at Silver Dollar City. Really people who had experience in vaudeville and circuses and all kinds of stuff. So it was a real learning experience for me too. But I wanted to write I was writing songs, and I needed to be in a bigger city and not quite so rural country,
right?
Tourist entertainment type of city to be able to pursue that. And I had ventured up to Springfield and heard Fool's Face, which anybody from the 80s era of Kansas City music scene knows who that is. And they were this incredible 5-piece rock band that did amazing covers and had released 3 albums. And, they were great guys and they had a look and they were energetic. And I was like, that's what I want to do. So I moved up to Kansas City in 81.
So did you go into music right out of high school and not pursue college, or did you?
No, I went to college. I went to Central Missouri State of Warrensburg for a couple of years, and I was in visual arts there, drawing and painting, and then graduated from Northwest Missouri at Maryville.
But there you
and
go. I
would still be in college if there was a way. I loved going to college. I stretched it out. I think I went 5 years over 7. I would just keep stretching it out. No, I'm not quite ready to get out in the real world yet.
Well, I went 4 years over 10.
There you go.
There you go.
Stretching it
out. So you come to Kansas City.
And I see this fantastic music scene, both on the original level. I mean, those bands that I mentioned, Fool's Face and The Secrets from Lawrence, and Kelly and the Kinetics from Lawrence, and the Morels and the Clocks from Wichita, the Morels from Springfield. There are all these bands that were making records. They're making independent records. They were writing original music. We were kind of on the tail end of that pop punk thing,
right.
The Elvis Costello Police
right.
wave of music. So there's all this energy in this music. And then there were these great local bands, that were mostly cover bands, some of them 100% cover bands. But so, there were the Westport scene. I mean, there were within a few blocks, and I know it's still this way to some degree, but there were probably 6 clubs within 3 blocks that all had live music 6 nights a week. And if you could get a job at one of those clubs with your band, you were playing 5 or 6 nights a week, 4 hours a night.
Wow.
And you were getting better. I mean, and it paid the rent. You didn't have to get another job. It's like, wow, I'm a professional musician.
Right.
I'm buying the groceries and I'm paying the rent and I'm playing every single night and I'm getting better at it. So I think I landed in town at a really good time. I mean, from Monday through Saturday, the clubs were all full.
So did you, from that point forward, were you pretty much able to be a professional musician?
Yeah.
And you never had to have a quote-unquote real job?
No, I've had a real job. I mean, besides music. I feel like I've been lucky in that the chapters of my musical life have lined up nicely with the chapters of my personal life, in that some of the members of my band have missed births. They've been out of the country when a baby was
right.
born. When Michelle and I got together, it was kind of at one of the chapter breaks for the Rainmakers. So I was home all the time my kids were little. And in fact, I was home solid for 5 years. We had enough money saved. It's like, okay, let's have these babies and let's just stay here. And it was the best money I ever spent, staying home for 5 years.
Wow, that is amazing. I mean, that doesn't sound like a musician.
Well, actually, I think there are a lot of musicians that if you can,
or some people's perception of a musician,
maybe, or at least the kind of the outlaw, adventurous side of music. But I think there's a lot of people. I mean, you can look at Paul McCartney, who's been
right.
a really good family man. Keith Richards said, I've done it all, and there's nothing as high as having kids. That when you are really there for the experience and say, yeah, that's where you start learning, here's the part of me that's a musician, and here's the part of me that's a human being.
Right.
They're not necessarily always the same thing. And in fact, the musical side can certainly compromise the human being side. So I was lucky in that the band had kind of reached a point where we have to stop for a while. We don't know how long. And that lined up with Michelle and I being together and children that I could stay home for, which I am incredibly grateful that I got that experience. I would not, there was nothing that would be worth missing that.
Well, let's get into the rise and not fall, that's not fair. The
rising plateau.
Right, after our first time out. We are talking with Bob Walkenhorst from the Rainmakers, and just Bob being Bob Walkenhorst, which has been so cool for the Kansas City music scene for so long, and the Scandinavian music scene, and all these music scenes all over the place. We'll continue right after this.
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this.
Looking for a truly unique escape from your normal entertainment or corporate team-building regimen? Stay tuned for an exclusive offer only for Reasonably Irreverent listeners. I'm excited to tell you about an extraordinary destination, the Exit Room, located in the heart of beautiful downtown Lee Summit. The Exit Room is a distinctive entertainment option that offers a cool alternative to the normal couples night out, family get-togethers, and corporate team-building events. The Exit Room is a one-of-a-kind boutique escape room catering to special occasions and corporate team-building events and is unmatched in the Kansas City metro. With 5 individually designed and varied escape room adventures, your party or employees can unplug from their electronic world, interact with one another, match wits, and ultimately escape the humdrum of the ordinary. The Exit Room adventures cross decades and centuries and create fascinating fun. I know the owners well. They are local folks, their staff is warm and friendly, their lobby is inviting and beautiful, and their adventures are award-winning. Check online. There are over 1,000 reviews, and note that they are a rare 5-star ranked business. Visit their website and Facebook page, and any of my listeners who books online at theexitroomkc.com using the promo code ClinkScale19 gets 10% off any ticket purchase. The Exit Room in Lee Summit. Unplug, interact, and escape.
For many people, a family law case will be one of the most difficult experiences in their life. The law firm of Kenneth McRae will help you through it. Personal and effective help from Ken in concert with you will develop a unique strategy for your unique case. As Ken always says, divorce can be civil law, not civil war. Licensed in Kansas? Visit McRaeLawOffice.com or call 913-972-4765.
Sumner One is the company to make your office maximize efficiency. Their family of companies make up one of the largest independent dealers of office technology in the Midwest. They are proud to bring the best service and technology to top companies across the region. Sumner One can help your organization run more smoothly than ever. Sumner One printers, copiers, MFPs, managed print services, document management, infrastructure design, IT services, disaster recovery, and business continuity. Welcome to the one place where everything works. For more information, call Carl Little at 913-752-2256. I've been duped, and you should be next. Yes, Doob. D-O-O-B. It's the keepsake of a lifetime, a 3D-generated, incredibly lifelike figurine. I just had one done of me. 66 cameras take an image at exactly the same moment in any pose, and state-of-the-art 3D technology transforms that into exact replicas of you, anyone you know or love, a pet, whomever is close to your heart. Create lifetime memories with a Doob. Visit their Facebook page at Doob 3D Kansas City, or better yet, see their incredible creations at their store on 119th Street in La Paloma Plaza near the Cheesecake Factory. Doob, be next.
And we continue with Bob Walkenhorst, and your first band, of course, you self-produced an album, or you're not Fantasia, the next one, and then you become the Rainmakers, and I saw 2 different things in research that I did. Did you sign with Polygram or Mercury?
Well, Mercury was one of the labels under the Polygram umbrella. You know, they had, and in Europe, it was not Mercury, it was Polygram. But yeah, but that was the parent company, which was headquartered in Switzerland.
So tell the process of being signed by a big label. How did that happen?
Well, I think one of the main differences between the music business in the 80s and the music business now is that there was a roadmap back then. You played locally, you honed your craft, you learned how to write songs, then you started expanding your geographic circle a little bit. You'd play the surrounding college towns. Then you would venture to the next metropolitan area. How will St. Louis or Chicago respond to a Kansas City band? And you just keep spreading your circle out. And then you start reaching out to the next professional levels. You need professional booking agencies. You need a professional management. And then those people would take the step to the record label, say, we've got something here that it's proven. They've got thousands of people fan base. They've got original songs. Let's make a record. And so it was pretty much this linear path. You take this step, get that accomplished, go on to the next step. There's not such a defined roadmap anymore for young musicians, which is really hard. It's just so much more unknown. Is your YouTube video going to be your ticket to being a professional musician? For a lot of people, it is.
Right.
Is being picked up on a soundtrack? There's just so many different ways, but there's no one way. And back in the 80s when we were rising up in the music business, there was really kind of one way that it worked.
Was there a particular person who came to a show, or was there somebody who had a tip on that, or was there a night where, okay, this is the big night, there was so-and-so's coming from New York?
There was a particular person in our life that without that person, it may not have gone the same way. In fact, I'm certain it would not have. And he died a couple years ago. He was a young guy named Chip Hooper. He was from Chicago, and he contacted us when he was 22 years old. He was an agent in Chicago. And he was just working for this little agency, and he had this idea that if he could become the exclusive representation for the hot local band in each metropolitan area in the Midwest, then he would leverage that. If you're going to book Steve, Bob, and Rich, if you're going to book the hot band in Kansas City, then you have to also take a date from this band from Minneapolis. You got to give them a shot. So he was really smart. He was really energetic. And he was just this super talk young guy who was going to take over the world. And we clicked, and he was the guy that said, okay, here's what you need to do. We got to put you in touch with this person. And Chip went on to be the top person in his profession. He was the booking agent for Aerosmith and Fish and Huey Lewis and the News. And he rose to the top of his profession and was just a great guy. And I feel like our band was also lucky in that you can talk to a lot of people who went through the record company, professional management experience, and there's someone along the line that screws them over. And we didn't have anybody screw us over. Trying to make records on the national scale is like going to the horse races. I mean, anything can happen. Some people win big, some people lose big, some people land in the middle somewhere. And we landed in the middle somewhere, which was pretty lucky. But we never had anybody screw us over. In fact, we had people work so hard for the good of our band. And we worked really hard, and we were dependable. And so, we don't really have very many great stories of debauchery and doom and gloom on the road. We just worked hard, and we had people that worked really hard with us. And so it's not really interesting, but I'm glad that's our story because I'm here to still tell it.
Right. And just talk about, it sounds like your relationship with your bandmates was sort of a nice one.
It was, and I got to give them a lot of credit for putting up with me because I always have been a bit of a control freak. Just because I care about, this is the best way it should be done. And I've gotten a lot better at listening to other people's opinions. But yeah, they trusted me or allowed me or put up with me to make a lot of the decisions for the band and to be the songwriter and do the interviews and all that, which that was, they worked out okay. And I really, in just the past decade or the past 8 years that the Rainmakers have been back together, I have come to a much greater appreciation for each person in the band and for how much better the music is if you're not the control freak. If you leave it up to other people to have genuine input into the creative process and leave some of it up to chance. To be comfortable with,
right,
we don't know this song yet, let's record it. And great things will happen. And I'm glad that I've kind of learned to not be so controlling. I think it's been better for me, and it's certainly been better for the people around me, and hopefully better for the music too.
The look on your face looks like a person who feels like they matured or whatever. And was it your natural personality to be the person who would lead the band? Or were the other guys naturally deferential, or did you have to kind of almost fight for that position?
A great rock and roll band is democratic to an extent, and that's where always the tension comes in. You